Hello and welcome class 8 social science. In our previous lecture, we have already discussed the first chapters how, when and well. And we discussed in the first part, that is how importance are dead. And we also discuss with that criteria, what are the criteria to choose a set of that as important. Moreover, we discuss about how do we parodize and how the British parodize Indian history. And lastly, we are discussing about how the historians have divided Indian history. And today, let us continue. In history, time notation is very important. Historians used to use the term like AD and BC. So the term AD and BC are used to label numbers years in the Julian and Gregorian calendar. The term Anno Domini is medieval Latin and means in the years of the Lord, and the term BC is an epoch used in dating years prior to the estimated birth of Jesus Christ. So here is the picture. You can see after in the middle there is a Jesus Christ, the birth of Jesus Christ. So before the birth of Jesus Christ, it is BC, and then after the birth of Jesus Christ, it is called as AD. So that is how historians used to use the term or use the notation of the term like AD and BC. And from the next slide, let us see modern period change to colonial. Modern period is related to all the forces of modernism, growth of education, development of education, so and so forth. But under the British rule, people's especially Indian peoples were not getting modernized. Instead, we are being subjugating, and then the British established their rules, controlling and subjugating our local Nawabs, Rajas. They established control over the economy, society, collected revenues, and so forth. Therefore, the name moderns is changed into colonial period. When the subjugation of one country by another lead to political, economic, social and cultural changes, this is the process of colonization. And again, let us move to the next slide. There is a sources. How do we know history? What are the sources? Do historians use in writing about the last 250 years of Indian history? About the last 250 years of Indian history, how do the historians use in writing our Indian histories? What are the sources? Let us see. Number one is official record of the British administration. So the British believed that the act of writing was important. So every plan, policy, agreement was in writing. This led to administrative cultures of memos, noting and report. The British also feel that all important documents and letters needed to be carefully preserved. So they set up record room attached to all the administrative institutions, like for example like Tehsildar office, collectorate, commissioner office, provincial secretariat office. And they also the British also keep all the document preserved in the record, not only in the record room which are being attached. They also, moreover, these documents were written by calligraphists who were specialized in the art of beautiful writing. Moreover, the British officers also, the British government also started to establish National Archive. That is, they set up museums, establish institutions like archive and museum to preserve and protect the important records. So this is one example. In the year 1920, National Archive of India, Delhi was established to keep all the important documents and record. And the next slide, sources of writing history, is the second sources of writing history is conducting survey, because conducting survey was common under the British administration. The British believed that a country had to be properly known before it could be effectively administered, and therefore they started survey. Like they carried out survey, like revenue survey was conducted, and then they also survey the soil quality, the flora, the fauna, the local histories, the cropping patterns, and they started even census operations. They started even they carried out even census, and by the early 19th century, detailed surveys are being carried out. Moreover, they carried out like forest survey, zoological survey, etc. Then from the next slide, what official record do not tell us? From the first two sources of writing of history by the historian, we have seen official record of the administration record and the survey records. Survey are the two most important source of writing history by the historian. But the record, what official record do not tell us? Some of the record which are not being recorded by the official records. Let's see. Record do not tell what other people in the country feel in the official record, and for that we need to look elsewhere. When we begin to search for these other sources, we find them in plenty. Like for example, we have diaries of literate people who are writing their diaries, accounts of pilgrims, travelers, autobiographies of important personalities, and popular booklets that well sold in the local market. So all these sources, however, were produced by those who well literate. From this, we will not be able to understand how history was experienced and lived by the tribals and the peasants, the workers in the mines or the poor or on the street. Getting to know their life is a more difficult task. So yet this can be done if we make a little bit of effort. When you read this book, you will see how this can be done in the next part of our next part of the chapter. So let us end our discussion for today. Enjoy. Have a great day.